This book is amazing. It's about I can't remember. How many times we've read something and in just 5 seconds later we had to go back and reread the same page over and over because we have no idea what we just read. If you're facing this problem, you'd better watch this video. Try to check it out. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to remember easily, because I was asked many times of how to solve this problem. But before we start, subscribe in the channel, like and share the video. Here we have 5 tips to follow that would make our life much easier to remember stuff we read of a book.
Tip number 1. Don't try to memorize. You can use a highlighter to underline some keywords, or also you can take some notes.
So, Mr. Sugar gave us the first tip, which is don't memorize anything of a book. Try just to highlight some keywords or write down the most important notes that would help you study later on.
Tip number 2. The Mind Palace technique. And this is to memorize, for example, the map of your living room. Stand at the door of your living room, and then try to mention 5 things in the room. For example, sofa, TV, desk, computer, carpet. Then go back and try to mention 5 other things in the same room. Shelves, printer, window, chair, curtains. What we just did right now is your mind palace that actually stores all the data. You can try this with any room in your house. For example, the kitchen, or your bedroom, or even the dining room, etc. You will understand at the end of the video why we did this mind palace technique.
Mrs. Green just mentioned and explained the mind palace technique, and this is to mention anything that would be in your room, and this is to refresh your mind. It calls the mind palace technique.
And this will lead us to tip number 3 that Jack will tell us about.
Tip number 3. Whatever you need to remember, you need to turn it into a picture. If you, for example, read a book about Sphinx, you need to relate that to a picture that you would never forget. Maybe the Egyptian pound as Sphinx is drawn on it. So whatever you want to remember, create pictures for.
Mr. Jack is also stressing on that if I want to remember something, I need to make a picture for. Like Sphinx, it is always drawn on the Egyptian money.
Tip number 4. If you truly want to remember the Sphinx, you need to place the Egyptian pound that has the picture of Sphinx on the first picture of your living room, which was the sofa. Let's try another example. If you would like to study about President Hosni Mubarak, the 4th president of Egypt, what should we do in the same way we did before? Try to relate the piece of information that President Hosni Mubarak was the 4th president of Egypt. Let's think, how can we do that? I have got an idea. I will try to imagine and picture in my mind that President Hosni Mubarak is driving a car around the 4 seasons. And this will always remind me that he was the 4th president as I referred to the 4 seasons. Then I will place that picture on the second picture of my living room, which was the TV. Every single piece of information you read, you turn it into a picture, and you would see the pieces of furniture around your living room. So 5 pieces of information in the room, for 5 important points you want to remember of a book.
Mr. Hernandez was explaining that every piece of information we got and we made a picture for, we need to place it on the picture of a furniture in our room. And this was what explained of Mrs. Green in tip number 2.
If you want to remember 5 points of a chapter, you put them in one room. And if you want to remember 10 points of a chapter, you put them in 2 rooms. and so on. If you want to remember 15 points of a chapter, you put them in 3 rooms. Using this way will simplify the information, and you don't need to jam everything up. You just need to recall the information off its room, and that is it.
And hear what Mr. Damien meant in his explanation, that every piece of information should be placed on a piece of furniture, and like this you will link the information with a piece of your living room, so it will be easy to recall it. He also said that we shouldn't put more than 5 pieces of information in one room, so we don't jam everything up.
Tip number 6. If you want to remember important dates of a history book, create a picture of each month in your mind and link it to the real date. For example, you might use people marching for the month March, or even April's Fool for the month April. This way will help you link all the dates in the history book to a picture that you created for each month.
The last tip that Miss Karen was mentioning here is tip number 6, which is to create a picture for each month to remember important dates of a history book, such as the marching soldiers for March or April's Fool that relates to April. I hope you enjoyed the 5 tips of how to remember things easily. But there was an extra one, the 6th one. Yes, that was an extra one from me. Don't forget to subscribe if you really liked the video.